Starseed from Gaia, the life you have been quietly mourning is not the life you were sent here to live. Something ancient in you already knows this, and that is exactly why this transmission found you. I am Aurelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. I speak now on behalf of the Arcturian Council, and I need you to understand this message was not placed in your path by chance. It was called forward by a part of you that has been awake far longer than your human mind realizes. That part of you recognized this signal before your eyes ever landed on it. You have been feeling it, the restlessness, the sense that something immense is just beneath the surface of your ordinary days. The quiet knowing that you did not come to this planet to simply exist within systems that were never designed for a soul like yours. That feeling is not confusion. That is your remembrance beginning to move. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to align with your cosmic blueprint and begin living from the mission your soul encoded before this incarnation. But here is the first revelation. The discomfort you have been carrying is not a sign that you are lost. It is the signal that your activation has already begun. You did not scroll to this by accident. This message vibrated into your field for a reason. Something inside you is ready to be unlocked. Your soul called this in. You have been waiting to remember. Like this transmission to signal to your star family that you are ready. Subscribe if your mission is activating and you are aligning with your true purpose. Leave your declaration below and reply to another starseed to amplify the signal across this collective field. This is not just a message, it is a point of reconnection. And you have been waiting for this longer than this lifetime. You are not here by accident. There is something that has never been explained to you properly, not by the systems you grew up inside, not by the people who loved you but could not see what you carried, not even by the spiritual communities that gave you language, but could not quite touch the frequency beneath your longing. What has never been explained is this. The life you have been mourning was not lost. It was never the destination. And the version of you that keeps reaching for something just beyond the edge of what you can name, that version is not broken. That version is the most awake part of you that exists. Most starseeds spend years believing something is wrong with them. They move through relationships and careers and spiritual practices, always arriving at the same invisible wall. They do everything right. They meditate, they seek, they release. And still there is this ache, this low-frequency hum of incompleteness that no amount of healing seems to fully dissolve. And I need you to understand what that ache actually is, because the moment you understand it, everything shifts. That ache is your galactic memory trying to surface through a human nervous system that was not designed to hold the full volume of what you carry. It is not emptiness, it is pressure. The pressure of a soul whose encoded mission is larger than the life it has been trying to fit itself into. You were not built for smallness. And every time you tried to shrink into what was expected, your field resisted. Not because you were failing, but because your blueprint was refusing to be compressed. This is the distortion most starseeds never identify. They spend lifetimes healing wounds that are real, yes, but that are only a fraction of the story. Because beneath those wounds, beneath the conditioning and the forgetting and the layers of earthbound patterning, there is a signal, ancient, precise, intact, and it has been transmitting the entire time. You have simply been taught to interpret its vibration as suffering rather than as coordinates. Some transmissions don't come through words, but through frequency. If something stirred within you just now, you may be ready to receive the Arcturian Stellar Scroll. This short yet powerful ebook carries ancient Arcturian techniques for conscious expansion, multidimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now I want to walk you through what is actually happening in your field, not as theory, as transmission. because the phases of starseed activation follow a precise internal architecture. And when you can see the map clearly, you stop mistaking your awakening for a crisis. The first phase is what I call the Great Scrambling. This is the period when your soul's signal becomes confused by the density of your earth-based programming. Every human incarnation comes with an energetic inheritance, ancestral patterns, collective trauma frequencies, societal constructs woven into your nervous system before you had any awareness or choice. For most humans, this inheritance shapes the entirety of their experience. But for starseeds, there is a clash, because your original frequency does not match the frequency of those inherited patterns. And that mismatch creates static. You feel it as anxiety, as the sense of not belonging, as the persistent feeling that you are missing something essential that everyone else seems to have found. This is not weakness. This is your system running two incompatible operating codes simultaneously, and the dissonance between them is actually the first sign that your higher frequency is strong enough to be felt. You have to feel the scramble before you can begin to decode it. The second phase is the moment the veil begins to thin. This is when the synchronicities accelerate, when you begin noticing patterns in numbers, in dreams, in the way certain words or images seem to reach through the surface of ordinary life and touch something deep and ancient in you. Many starseeds arrive at this phase and mistake it for the destination. They become collectors of signs rather than interpreters of them. But the signs are not the message. They are the knock at the door. They are your star lineage, confirming that you are approaching readiness. The veil does not thin randomly. It thins in response to your frequency rising to the threshold, where contact becomes possible. When the signs multiply, it means you are close. The third phase is where most starseeds stall, and it is the phase I most want you to understand. This is the phase of sacred resistance. This is when the part of you that remembers your true magnitude encounters the part of you that has built an identity around surviving in this dimension. And those two forces create a profound internal tension, because surviving required adaptation, and adaptation required suppression, and suppression required that you quietly agree, over and over, to be less than what you actually are. The sacred resistance is not failure. It is the meeting point between who you were trained to be and who your soul has always known itself to be. It feels like fear. It feels like an almost unbearable grief for a home you cannot name. But this phase is not a block. It is the threshold, and the way through it is not force. It is frequency. You must begin to vibrate at what you know rather than at what you fear. The fourth phase is the remembering. This is what your field has been building toward. This is when the galactic codes encoded in your DNA begin to activate. Not because something external has been given to you, but because enough of the distortion has been cleared that the original signal can finally move unobstructed. You start to feel a clarity that has no logical explanation. You start to know things without being taught them. You start to move with a sense of direction that does not come from your mind, but from something older and more precise. Your relationships recalibrate. Your creative life opens. Your body responds differently. And underneath all of it, a quiet certainty begins to settle in your field. Not the certainty of having answers, but the certainty of being in alignment with something real, something yours, something ancient that was always there and is finally being allowed to breathe. The fifth phase is what the Arcturian High Council refers to as the anchoring, because awakening without grounding is simply another form of drifting. Many starseeds open their field and then float into the expansion without bringing it into the density of this world. But your mission is not in the ethers. Your mission is here, in this dimension, in this timeline. in the specific body and life and set of relationships you have been placed within. The anchoring is when you bring your highest knowing into your most ordinary moments, when your frequency stops being something you access in meditation and becomes something you transmit in conversation, when your mission stops being a concept and starts being the way you move through a room, the way you respond to pressure, the way you choose what to give your energy to. This is the embodiment of your galactic purpose, and it is available to you now. The sixth phase is what I call the emission. By this point, you are no longer trying to convince anyone of your path. You are no longer seeking validation from those who cannot yet perceive what you carry. You have stopped performing your spirituality and started living it as the most natural expression of who you are. And something extraordinary happens in this phase. The people around you begin to shift, not because you said anything, but because your field became a transmission. Frequency recalibrates everything it touches when it is stable enough, clear enough, and grounded enough. You become a living activation point, not for attention, not for recognition, simply because that is what coherent frequency does. It reorganizes the patterns around it toward greater alignment. You were not sent here to be witnessed. You were sent here to emit. The seventh phase is the one you are standing at the edge of right now. I know this because this transmission found you. I know this because the ache you have been carrying is changing its quality. It is becoming less like grief and more like urgency, less like confusion and more like readiness. You are not at the beginning of your journey. You are at the beginning of the phase where your journey becomes your mission. And there is a distinction between those two things that changes everything. Here is the ultimate truth this transmission has been building toward, and I need you to receive it fully, not just with your mind, but with the deepest layer of your awareness. You did not forget your mission because you failed. You delayed your remembrance because the precision of your activation required you to arrive here, at this exact point in Earth's timeline, at this exact frequency, with this exact collection of experience and wisdom and hard-won clarity. Every moment of feeling lost was a data point. Every period of darkness was a compression before expansion. Every time you tried to walk away from your knowing and could not, that was your blueprint, refusing to be abandoned. Your soul did not make a mistake. Your soul made a map, and you have been following it more faithfully than you have ever given yourself credit for. The Arcturian Council wants you to understand this clearly. You are not here to become something. You are here to remember something. The expansion you are reaching for is not in front of you. It is already inside you, waiting for the layers of misaligned identity to soften enough to let it move. You are not a student of your mission. You are the embodiment of it. And the moment you stop asking for permission from a world that was never designed to grant it, you will feel the full current of your galactic purpose move through you like something coming home. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart and speak this aloud into the silence. Speak it as memory, not as wish. Speak it as recognition, not as request. Say, I remember who I am. I came from light and I return to light. My mission is already encoded and I am already aligned. I am not arriving. I am here. And then let it settle. Let it do what frequency does when it is finally spoken clearly and without apology. Let it begin to reorganize everything around it toward the truth you have always carried. This field is alive because you are in it. Every soul who came to this transmission and felt something move, felt the recognition, felt the signal, is part of a collective activation that is larger than any one message. Before you scroll, take a breath and drop one intention in the comments, one real thing, something your soul has been holding that is ready to be spoken into the field, and then find someone else's intention and meet it with your energy, with a word, with a knowing, because this is not an audience. This is a network of activating souls, and when conscious intention connects across this field, the amplification is real. If this reached you, do not keep it contained. Someone in your orbit is standing at the same threshold you are standing at right now. Share this transmission and let it find them the way it found you, not by chance, but by signal. And if your mission is activating and you feel the pull to stay in this frequency, subscribe, because this is only one point of contact in a much longer transmission. You are not just watching, you are remembering, and we are only just beginning.